good morning to you watching STARTIMES Business. This is your daily Kickstarter, and we are here to give you the very best of information and educate you in regards to business. My name is Masika Tsime, and I'm here to start your day and hope you enjoyed the news reviews, of course, for those that missed out last night on our Business Today edition. And of course, it is a Thursday, and today is a very special day for the Muslim community as they celebrate Eid. For the Muslims out there, we wish you the very best. Of course, as you prepare to start your day, we shall go for a short commercial break, and we shall be right back.
Securities on the Altex exchange from anywhere in Uganda via USSD. Step 1. To buy, dial *292#. Step 2. Select buy. Step 3. Select the product you would like to buy, for example, bonds. Step 4. Select your preferred maturity year. Step 5. Select the bond you would like to buy. Step 6. Input an amount of 15,000 Ugandan shillings or more. Step 7. Your order has been forwarded for processing. And finally, Step 8. Your order has been confirmed.
This handover is another good example of how excellent relationship that exists between the Government of People's Republic of China and East African Community. The friendly relations between China and EAC have continued to develop in depth and pragmatic cooperation in various fields that has achieved remarkable results. As follows. On an annual basis, the People's Republic of China has been supporting EAC in capacity building program. Secondly, last year, China donated funds to the EAC to support EAC development projects and supported 4th EAC Youth Leadership Summit. Thirdly, China has also continued to make substantial contributions in the region, especially in the areas of infrastructure development projects geared towards promotion of inter-East African community trade. And also, the Chinese government has expressed their commitment in supporting peace building and good governance initiatives in the region. Your Excellency, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, I believe this handover of vehicles will ease logistical issues relating to transportation and ultimately improve the overall efficiency, functioning of organs of the community.
And well, good morning again. Many thanks for joining us this Wednesday morning. It's Eid al-Duha day, and for the Muslim community, it's a day when the feasting starts. It's more like a festivity of feasting.
Yes, of cutting animals.
Cutting animals.
Not every animal, but of course, specific cows and goats.
Exactly.
Yes.
And specifically when you come to think of it, most of the Muslims in Uganda are highly expected to give us some business rotating around the goats. For those who do the slaughtering of the same, I think it is one that is highly expected to be a very key concern, or something to look at and ponder into as an insightful kind of situation. But of course, for the Muslim community, good morning. We wish you a happy Eid day. And of course,
for the Christians today, they're friends. We are friends today, and of course, you know, in every festive, I've just been recalling anyway, for the Muslims, we tend to be closer.
During such days.
Yes, during such days, because I mean, it's a day of feasting. And you know, the Muslims actually, I must say, they are giving. Muslims share, love to share.
Exactly.
And regardless of who you are, where you come from, they love to share. And I hope it's a good initiative for us as Christians, because I mean, at the end of the day, I know we do hold the majority, but then.
Well, of course, when you come to think of it in regards to the observations forward, that is the observations towards the kind of traffic flow that is going on this particular morning, you get to realize that our Muslim brothers have ideally captured the attention of many, because today's morning traffic flow is not as busy or as tight as it normally happens. So it's casually a public holiday if you come to think of it, and in most of the government offices or public offices, some of these particular ones will be closed today because of the fact that it is a religiously proven, or it is a religiously recognized public holiday. But of course, what we started with at the start of it all, as Masi Katusime ushered you into your morning call this morning, was really rotating around promotion of intra-East African community trade, where there are continuous Chinese donations. Now, this time around, the Chinese donations headed to the East African community as at least $400,000 worth of vehicles were donated for capacity building and trade. Well, the first of that particular kind was the mere fact that you get to realize that this is to also foster quite a number of things, pushing out information and everything. This was actually given out to the headquarters of the East African community in Arusha, Tanzania. The lady who was speaking at the start of our morning call today was Dr. Irene Isaka. Dr. Irene Isaka is the Director of Social Services at the East African Community Secretariat that is in Arusha, Tanzania. Well, of course, as we come to think of it, I think easing logistic issues has always been a very key kind of situation, more so when we look at promoting this kind of intra-East African community trade within the region.
Yes, and of course, we have to consider that Chinese have taken initiative to come to our aid as Africa. And I must say, they are really up to something, and it's paying off, it's working off. I mean,
exactly.
it's seeing them doing these things really, yeah, something actually is really going on. And we hope, and of course, you know, there's been issues of trying to make the dollar, they're trying to make the dollar
weaker, so that they can at least dominate such regions, by the way.
Yes.
And of course, when you come to think of it in regards to the same donations, last year China donated funds to the East African community, and this was to support the East African Communities Development Project and the 4th East African Community Youth Leadership Summit. So China and its kind of relation when it comes to helping out African countries, besides the East African community generally, you get to realize that Africa and China have been enjoying bilateral relations for quite some time now. And when it comes to these particular bilateral relations being fostered, being sustained for the longevity of time, it is exactly the reason as to why you see China trying to at least tap into Uganda's trade Kenya is trade, Tanzania is trade. How? When you are building these relations, you get to realize that one, first of all, they create room for you to invest. You know, Nairobi actually has a Chinatown somewhere. Last year, Kenyans were actually rioting in regards to the fact that there is a way the Chinese had taken over the market. They have cheaper products that are imported from China. So that means when we as Africans, when we see a cheaper product imported from Asia or from the US, our focus stands on making sure that we buy these products away from buying our own products. And then also here in Uganda, you get to realize we do have quite a number of industrial parks that are governed or manned by Chinese. So the influence of Chinese within Africa is something that we cannot go without mentioning. And it's exactly the same relation when it comes to the regional development corporations here. Now, the friendly relations between China and EAC have definitely continued to develop in depth. And of course, when it comes to these fields of, trade and logistics, I want to believe China is giving us a very key kind of situation where we can look back. Because in this particular detailed aspect that we're giving you, 8 vehicles were handed over to the East African Community Secretariat. That is Arusha.
So they're going to be in headquarters.
And I think for the viewers out there, you've been able to at least see these vehicles, blue in color.
Yeah, very beautiful cars right there. And I was wondering, are they going to be in Tanzania?
Well, I want to believe they will be rotating around the headquarters. But now the buses may be used to travel cross-border. Because I believe at least the bus can travel from Tanzania to Uganda, Rwanda, Kenya. But for you get to realize that at times these particular trucks now, for example, the Hilux there, you get to realize that these ones may be used within Tanzania or exactly within Tanzania.
Yes,
I want to believe so.
Because I was wondering if they were to distribute them to different countries, they're not actually enough. And of course, some countries with what is going on, these cars may be used for other purposes.
Well, of course, there are quite a number of grants and donations that normally come out from these world or first world countries, the developed countries, we should say. And in most cases, when these countries give us, you can easily see even the number plates, Tanzanian number plates, in regards to the observation. But of course, it is quite a situation where you get to realize that it's something to ponder on. We as a country, we as a region, and everything within the same aspect. But of course, in relation to the same, Ambassador Meg Jan said that China would remain a staunch and strong supporter of East African community on development matters, and reaffirmed the East African community of China's desire to strengthen collaboration and solidarity within the community for the mutual benefits of the parties. And then of course we do expect that at least, you never know, next year we may be getting something bigger. Who knows, maybe a plane or something. But starting on in regards to making sure that we have this transportation worked upon, this is clearly something that we should as well get in context with. But well, besides that, as we continue to give you more details this morning, let's have our eyes set to the press review now. Solo. All right, now when it comes to the press review this morning, we have the Daily Monitor and the New Vision to give you the context. And of course, the bigger debate is rotating around the fact that today is definitely a public holiday and a religious public holiday. And I'll tell you, for us at Smart 24, we do also have brothers and sisters here who are definitely rotating around when it comes to, let's say, the Islam religion as well. Now, as a matter of fact, as we continue to give you all these details, in relation to the Daily Monitor, there is something relating to the CRB reforming or blacklisting loan defaulters. That is the CRB reforms, blacklist loan defaulters. Now, with the new financial institution, that is the Credit Reference Bureau regulations, the credit providers in the country have an opportunity to minimize the default rates. This is according to the Daily Monitor. And what they have here is saying that the regulations are cited above seek to align a very core credit risk management gap, which is likely to include other credit providers not regulated by the Bank of Uganda in the credit information that is given.
All right, and in regards to the Eid that is happening today, and of course in Yumbe district, they are of the view that actually prices have risen. Prices of animals, goats, cows, and now for those that were a goat that was sold at 100,000 is now at 250,000. That is double. And of course, depending on the size, and of course some go to up to from 50,000 actually to 150,000. That is the smallest goats right there. And of course, this is the day the Muslim community gets to share and of course share a feast with each other and cut animals to celebrate their religion.
Okay, and of course, when you also look at the other detail here from the Daily Monitor, they highlight something to do with the World Bank is set to post debt repayments in the times of disaster. Now, when you come to think of it, the World Bank has highlighted something to do with posing debt repayments in times of disaster. And the Daily Monitor says that the increasing occurrence of natural disasters, primarily in poor countries, have prompted the World Bank to create an allowance where debt repayments can be posed in times of crisis. Now, the World Bank revealed this during the Finance Summit in Paris, France, noting that this will ease crisis financing for low-developing countries and help governments build advanced emergency systems. Now, also, besides that, as we continue, you get to realize that the World Bank did not indicate whether it had plans to write off these particular debts, even as a number of participants were actually saying that debt repayments should be quite helpful, and it will though they are insufficient when it comes to repaying or debt servicing, but at least they can help to address the crippling debt burden the country is facing. A country like ours is facing. I think when you look at the kind of discussions in regards to debt burden, Uganda's debt burden is at a worrying state. 86 trillion Ugandan shillings. That's a very huge amount of money. And of course, even when you think of the national budget allocations for the next financial year, at least 34% is definitely going to be heading to financing this debt. 34% or more will be heading to financing this debt. And that means there's also higher expectations of more borrowing, highly expected at the end of it all. So definitely moving through, you get to realize that this is something that we can greatly think about. What else do we have, Marcy?
Well, Uganda signs electricity sharing agreement with South Sudan. And of course, this is where the Minister of Minerals, Honorable Ruth Nankabira, was in South Sudan as they shared and of course signed this agreement. Now, the signing ceremony was held at the State House in Juba, South Sudan, and it was yesterday. And the Minister of Energy, Mineral Development, Ruth Nankabira, represented Uganda, while her counterpart, Peter Masero, represented South Sudan. Now, this Nankabira noted that Uganda and South Sudan have kicked off vigorous power trade operations. This is a good thing actually for Uganda, as they are working hand in hand with South Sudan to see that they share electricity. I mean, Uganda, we are a hub that has dams, we have electricity, we have everything it takes. We just need a push. We have everything it takes.
I think as a country we are on what you could call an implementation radar of kind of making sure that these things are worked upon, because our kind of implementation is still poor, especially when it comes to the government projects. You understand, and at the end of the day, it is as hard as it gets. It is only as hard as it gets every other time. And as we continue to give details in regards to the implementation,
it is something that you should as well look at. Now, there's also a detail coming in from the Prosper magazine of the Daily Monitor today, looking at counting the cost of the tax exemptions. This will be last from the Daily Monitor's edition as we cross over to the traffic updates this morning. When you look at what is in between the line, in January this year, the Uganda Revenue Authority Commissioner General John Rujoki Musinguzi estimated that the taxman was bound to lose 2.8 trillion in tax exemptions, credits and deferrals for the financial year 2022-2023. And well, that is it for our press review this morning. And of course, on the split side of Mercy Katsina this morning is the traffic updates at the clock tower, former clock tower, Kampala flyover. That's exactly where we are definitely going. Now let's get over to our traffic updates to see what we have in regards to what we should be expecting this particular time around in regards to the traffic updates, to give you more of the same.
I must say today's traffic was actually, there was nothing actually. I came straight, no traffic,
no nothing. And well, of course, the kind of observation is it's not as busy and tight as you can easily see on your screen.
That the Muslim community have influence when it comes to most businesses.
And when you come to think of it as well, for the viewers out there, that is the former clock tower. And of course, not only that, you see taxis are really empty for the morning. I think it takes us back to a conversation we once had last time, that it does seem like Ugandans, ideally, or what I could say, Ugandans do seem to be relaxed people when it comes to public holidays. And I think they're also making sure that they're giving, our kind of observation was really right. Most of the Ugandans tend to rest on such days. So the economy at times freezes for a moment, if you come to think of it. And once the economy freezes, you get to realize that certain things won't move on as you like, because you will be moving in the city this morning and you realize there are some businesses that you, or some offices that you will not find open because of the fact that either way they are owned by a Muslim, or they have Muslim workers, or they are at least attached to a certain religious belief in one way or the other, and they tend to respect such kind of days as well. But of course, it's going to be a busy day for those in the, in the different abattoirs, especially after the prayers are done, because according to what is actually being known about this particular Eid Day celebrations is that once Eid, actually what they actually say is they have to first go through prayers,
then go on.
After prayers are done, then they go into
the buying.
They go into the slaughtering of animals, because this is more of slaughtering.
I thought it was done the day before.
No, they don't, because this is more like
it has to be fresh.
Fresh.
Wow.
And it's more like the head of the house has to slaughter
and distribute
a goat and distribute
share.
it.
Wow.
So I think if you have a Muslim friend, it's high time you switched in there and definitely saw yourself, and you become a Hajjat of the day. In such times is when you see many Ugandans become Hajis and Hajjats, names of Muslims, only because of the food idea. So I think
their food is incredible. They cook nice.
And I love the fact that they've actually now started this idea of believing in themselves as a business community. They've got their pilau, which is a trademark for the Muslim community, and now they have restaurants selling that pilau. I think we now also know quite a number of restaurants selling what we call lusania here in Uganda, whereby it's only that kind of Muslim food, goat's meat, cow's meat, or let's say beef, and then it's just a combination of a lot of food on one silver platter, if you're to come to think of it. So I think the Muslims have been able to at least establish themselves and make sure that their brand of pilau is highly represented, and at least that people can understand or identify Muslims. Being identified as let's say a pilau kind of person, I think it dates back from the Gulf states here. When you look at countries like Saudi Arabia, look at countries like all those countries where the Islam religion originated from, you get to realize that I think it's where all our kind of conversations are centered.
By the way, it reminds me, I had not gotten the sense of today is Eid until I have neighbors who are from Somalia. They're up and down like at 3
in the morning, and you're like, what's really it was actually, I think you're not the only one who was actually not sure if today was the right day, because I've seen on social media other people actually asking, is it today or tomorrow? So because most of them actually expected it to be on Thursday. And why? Because the people actually work for different companies, and they wanted to have a day off on Thursday, return on Friday, which is automatic, that on Friday you're only going to work for a few hours. Then you go back to the weekend and you relax. So I think it's still a good time for you to at least relax in between the week. Then you return for again 2 days. It's more like this entire week, some people have actually worked for 4 days, especially those who work for companies that clock Monday to Friday.
I think on Monday I was actually downtown, and because at times when you're not so much into this, you do not know what. So I saw like a number of clothing, what are they called, the things they put on top for the men. Yes. I was there, seeing them there, and I'm like, maybe. So that it kicked to my mind today, and I'm like, wow. So they were preparing for today. Well,
and of course, besides that is it for our traffic updates this morning. Now we head into our commercial break. When we do return, though, we're going to be looking at the SMB International updates. Not only that, we have Karibu East Africa coming your way this morning on ED Day. How about that? Stick around with us. Good morning.
Smart 24, driving business.